Well, good evening. This is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on the 1st of February, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining me this evening. And what I'd like to talk about this evening is the other side of the Yellow Vest protests. And whilst we haven't been hearing too much about Yellow Vest protests for the last week or so, although that in and of itself is quite interesting, because in general that is one thing that is largely absent from the reporting in North America, and I don't think that is any kind of an accent. But anyways, in the meantime, what Macron has done is got some town hall meetings going across the country. They're going to take about 3 months, and the idea is to try and research and report back. But really, this is something that all governments do when there is unrest on the streets. They try and diffuse the whole thing by having some town hall meetings. They allow people to blow off a little bit of steam. They take a few notes, and at the end of the day, nothing changes. And you'll see as we go through this, it's really apparent that these people have not, the officials that is, have not realized that this is completely different and things have changed. You know, it is one thing to talk about having your hand put in a hot boiling pot of water. You can talk till the cows come home. But when you have your hand in the pot of boiling water, the talks suddenly become much more urgent and much more insistent. And that's the situation as it is now. Okay, let's go take a look at these two stories, and we'll come back and do a quick wrap up. Okay, here we go. This is from France 24, a peek inside the town hall meetings that triggered by the Yellow Vest protests. Trouville-sur-Mer, a picturesque town in the northern French region of Normandy, organised its first town hall meeting last week as part of a broader national debate. At the event, attendees had one main question: where does our money go? Around 50 people gathered last Thursday in a reception room at the local town hall, which abuts Trouville's famous seaside casino. Most of the attendees were older, with strands of grey in their hair. The crowd was comprised of elected officials, municipal employees, and members of the ongoing Yellow Vest protest movement, which led French President Emmanuel Macron to launch the national debate earlier this month. Not a single seat in the room was empty, pointed out Trouville's centrist mayor, Christophe Caron, who organised the event. On the agenda, public spending and transition towards a green economy, although the first of the two issues largely dominated the debate. We have to reduce the number of lawmakers. We also have to reduce their personal expenses. It's costing us a fortune, complained a city official who described himself as a yellow vest in heart and soul, ironically touching on one of Macron's campaign promises. His comments were dismissed by City Councillor Elspeth Schmiler, a member of Macron's La République En Marche party. Lawmakers' personal expenses cost only €1 out of every €1,000 of public spending, she said. Caron echoed Schmiler, arguing that any measure limiting expenses would be purely symbolic. The mayor's words, however, were met with an immediate outcry from the room. It's why Yellow Vests feel disrespected, pointed out an attendee. Throughout the 2-hour debate, one question, the same one heard at Yellow Vest protests across the country for the past 2 months, was repeated again and again. Where does our money go? We're under record fiscal pressure with the value-added tax, income tax, social charges, and yet public servants are disappearing. Hospitals and police stations are closing, and maternity clinics are moving away, one townsperson said. I have studied the state budget and I don't get it, said another attendee. All I saw was a massive cost of payroll, but where are all the civil servants? The point clearly struck a nerve on both sides of the debate, with officials hard-pressed to respond. Whether it be Chirac, Sarkozy, Hollande or Macron, it's always the same rhetoric that there are too many civil servants, conceded one municipal employee listing the last 4 presidents of France. They keep beating us over the head with this point, but the cost of living adjustments to our salaries have been frozen for the past 8 years, he added, saying he earned €1,500 per month. The median standard of living in France is €1,710 per month, according to a 2016 study by the National Institute of Statistics and Economic Studies. We have to stop looking at the society through the financial lens, because that's what leads to divisions, said a retired doctor in the audience. It's easy to blame civil servants, but they are there to create social ties and to help people in need, like those who work at tax centres or postal workers. We have to go get money from the big guys. Public service is at the heart of our country, said another townsperson, blaming instead the rich who keep getting rich whilst the poor keep getting poorer. In the corner of the room, a woman with red hair added her voice to the growing chorus. We have got to go get money from the big guys, not civil servants, she said. Every year we lose 60 to 80 billion euros to tax havens. A recent report by Solidaires Finances Publiques, the largest union representing French tax authorities, found that tax evasion actually cost the government between 80 billion and 100 billion euros in 2017. Macron took her point, saying the fight against tax evasion should be a priority. From there, the debate wended its way to the government's controversial decision to replace tax on wealth with a new property tax, which one attendee said he wanted repealed. The change to the country's tax system had been largely attributed to the drop in charitable giving last year. Under the previous rules, households with an income over 1.3 million euros could deduct 75% of charitable contributions, or up to 50,000 euros, from their declarations. Although taxpayers can still write off donations under new property tax, it applies to only half as many people. Another issue raised was France's 35-hour week, which one townsperson said was implemented to create jobs, but it hasn't worked. He used the example of a nearby bakery that a judge recently ruled had violated work codes by remaining open 7 days a week. The bakery managers have since said they fear they will have to lay off some of their staff. They're preventing us from working, the man said to a resounding applause. A debate without headway. Circling back to the question, where does our money go, one civil servant said the answer could be found on a website for the national debate. For every 1,000 euros of tax revenue, 575 euros is dedicated to social security, including retirement, healthcare and unemployment benefits. The discussion then shifted to the jobless. It's an issue that has been addressed by the Yellow Vests, even though it affects 10 million people, 3 million of whom are aged between 15 and 34, Schmeller said. The unemployment rate in France has hovered over 9% for over the past decade, according to data collected by INSEE. Well, I can tell you where all of the money is going, because not only are governments spending about 70% or more on their civil servants, all of these civil servants were promised pensions. And so all of the retired civil servants are being paid out of the same pot that the government is paying the existing civil servants out of. And so you maybe have 2 civil servants retired for every 1 civil servant that is working. That means 1/3 the amount of people who are actually working. So there's your answer right there. Anyway, let's cut to one of the points that was made there with some of these large corporations that are not paying their fair share of taxes. Tax protest targets Google's offices in Paris. Activists from an anti-globalization group have staged a protest at Google's Paris headquarters to criticize the companies for paying little tax. According to Attack, Google's French subsidiary reported revenue of 325 million euros, or $371 million in 2017, and paid 14 million euros, or $16 million in income tax. The group says Google France shifts more than 85% of its French revenue to countries with more favorable tax regimes. And, the Irish Times, Apple's Cash Mountain and how it avoids tax, and the Irish link. It was May 2013, and Apple Inc.'s chief executive Tim Cook was angry. He sat before the United States Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, which had completed an inquiry into how Apple avoided tens of billions of dollars in taxes by shifting profits into Irish subsidiaries that the subcommittee's chairman called ghost companies. We pay all the taxes we owe, every single dollar, Cook declared. We do not depend on tax gimmicks. We do not stash money on some Caribbean island. And it's kind of interesting because Tim Cook gave a recent speech, and you would think that butter wouldn't melt in this man's mouth. He was the most philanthropic person, socially minded, and yet here is a guy who is avoiding paying taxes that go to pay for services for the general public. And also, it's no secret that his employees in China are jumping out of the windows. In fact, they had to place nets around the buildings to stop the suicides from taking place because the work was so cruel and arduous. And so between Apple and Google, these companies are harvesting our information and selling it to corporations, and yet they pay the least taxes, and yet they inflict the most damage and pain on as many citizens as it is absolutely possible to do through tax evasion and inhospitable, inhuman work conditions. And these people are the left wing. These are the socialists, the extreme left wing. These are the people who are supposed to be all cuddly and friendly and lovey-dovey. Well, this is how they're going to treat everybody at the end of the day. Mark my words. Now, as you can clearly see, the people at the town hall meeting were getting very irritated by the answers that were given by the officials and the seeming sort of nose snubbing process that was taking place. And at this juncture, I would say that is probably entirely the wrong thing to do, because the rubber has hit the road. And as you saw, that the national average is 1,700 euros a month, and the average wage seems to be around about 1,500 euros. So they're short. And as Mr. McCorber in Pickwick Papers said, the description of absolute happiness is earning $100 a year and spending 99. And the story of absolute misery is earning $100 a year and spending 101. Or another way we could put it, there is too much month at the end of the money. But whatever way you care to describe this, because the underpinnings have not been addressed and will not be addressed, this situation will not go away this time. And I think this is why the elites are scared to death, because they are realizing that their usual tactics are not working this time, and they don't have any more tricks in their bag other than the violence trick. And that is to pull the police out on the street, pull the army out, declare a national emergency, and make criminals of your own population. And I hope to God that that doesn't happen, because we're going to find out that as benign as the left wing may appear to be, it will turn predatory in a heartbeat, just like Stalin did in Russia with the gulags. Anyone who talked out of turn about the government, even anyone who expressed unhappiness, was arrested, because how could you be unhappy in a utopia? And nobody could drop the guise that it wasn't a utopia. Okay, so these are cautionary tales, and I really hope we can have a soft landing in this, but it's not looking too good at the present moment. Okay, well, as usual, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and comment below. Click that big red button. It really does help when you do. And we will be talking to you very, very soon. In the meantime, this is Hound Dog signing off. You take care, have a great evening, and we will see you. Bye now.